Welcome to Happy Health Hour. We have a difficult show this week, actually, because we're going to be talking about cancer, and we have some surprising, or the doctors have some surprising things to say. This week, we are joined by Dr. M. Hi, Dr. M. How are you?
Hi. Great now, Tej. And you?
I'm good, thank you. And Dr. B is here. How are you, Dr. B?
I'm doing well.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Let's get started. Because we've done a bit of a pre-conversation. We've done some exchange of ideas. We've got some talking points, and one thing I'm going to ask Dr. M to start. But I've got to say, I've been so surprised in my sort of non-medical view of the world. I'm a non-medical doctor, and my non-medical view of the world, I was always led to believe that cancer was genetic, mostly genetic. But Dr. M, that's not quite right, is it? Why don't you kick us off there? Why am I wrong?
Well, when the facts come forward, you have to respect them. And anybody who doesn't, they're left in the dark, and they really they're not the ones to benefit. So if you look at the statistics and the literature, what has been done, the consensus right now is that about 95% of cancer is not brought on by one's genes, not directly anyway. The genes can be altered, but if you have, for instance, a certain gene that you inherited from a parent or both parents, whatever the case may be, and they may have had certain disease, and you have their genes, that does not equal you having the disease yourself, or that is you have a propensity, but you don't have the guaranteed you're locked in, you're going to have this disease, at least with cancer. So there are a lot of other factors involved in the development of this dreaded condition, which I don't like to use the word cancer. It kind of implies something really, not too good, and kind of even goes into the other direction of life. So I like to call it an imbalance, a body imbalance. So when the genes are set, and your genes are set, you have your genes that are, making you, they're your blueprint. That does not equal you developing diseases in general, and particularly cancer. So the stats now are that less than five or less percent cancer is actually caused by one's inherited gene. So most of the genes are manipulated and controlled by something outside of that DNA. There's other material outside of it, and we call that epigenetic. So that's a whole nother term that we can get familiar with. And epigenetic means outside of the gene, literally outside of that genetic material, there are other factors that can turn and twist that material. And it's all interaction between materials that are inside of a cell's nucleus, and that'll influence the cell around outside the nucleus, and then determine where you're going. There are many factors that can contribute here, and we'll go over that. But the answer to your question, 95% of cancer is not directly caused by a gene. It is gene manipulation by something called epigenetics.
Wow. Okay. So, Dr. B, I'm going to come to you a little bit later about what the sort of things we can do about it. But staying with Dr. M, so please take us through two questions in the way that you want to, combining them or doing them sequentially, whatever way you think is good. The first question is, have we therefore seen a rise in imbalance rates, cancer rates, internal human body imbalance rates or cancer rates? And what are the factors in the epigenetic um, world, what are the factors that lead to these imbalances, cancers?
Okay. In 3 minutes or less.
No, no, no.
Okay.
This is an important topic. I
Yes.
think you should take longer because I think we want everybody to understand this.
So I'll try to be succinct. In answer to your question, yes, absolutely. The rates of cancer have increased. Let me give you some numbers.
Okay.
So this is really the real pandemic is cancer, is this imbalance, as we call it. If I go back to 1905, in the beginning of the 20th century, the population of the world was approximately 1.7 billion. And the rates of cancer back then were on the order of, for that entire world, 0.05%. Okay. So that probably, if you do the math, that probably equals about, under a million people, out of the 1.7 would be diagnosed with cancer. The go to the 1950s, you went up to more cancer development, and 10% of the population, 10%, as opposed to the 0.05.
Mm-hmm.
And so by the 1950s, you had a couple of more billion, and so it started to go up well above a million people into the 2 to 3 million. Come rapidly to 2025, fast forward to last year, we have approximately 8.2 billion or so people in the world. The rates of cancer as of last year, 33% of women would be diagnosed with a cancer, and approximately 50% of all men would be diagnosed with a cancer. So when we talk about percentage wise, that is, if you add those two numbers together, the percentages, you're talking like 83% of people are going to have cancer diagnosis. With a population of 8 change, we're talking 6 point some odd billion people as of 2025 had cancer diagnosed. And the rates and the heights of that are just accelerating. We're having more and more of it. So those numbers are pretty outstanding and stunning, to say the least. So to go from a 0.5% up to 80%, I think something's wrong here. And you asked me about the factors, the epigenetics. So as I
Yeah.
said, epigenetics really refers to something, and it's something that has developed over the past several decades. Some wonderful researchers got together and they saw what was going on here. So and through various research studies with using rats, using mice, using all kinds of rodentia, they found all very interesting stuff happening as far as changing their diet, their exposures to electromagnetic fields, their exposures to different chemicals, a lot of chemicals. And so, I mean, the research is absolutely mind-boggling. But these studies have been done. I mean, not heavily funded by industries. I mean, don't get me wrong; they were not funded heavily by industries. But a lot of independent researchers has gone on to find that all of these different factors can enter into the cells. Say, we're talking about asbestos or something along those lines, and it gets in, and the material gets into the cell, and it can cause tumor suppressor genes to be turned off. It'll turn off suppressor genes. A carcinogen like asbestos or lead or something out of a cigarette can cause a tumor suppressor gene that we all have. We have the capacity to suppress tumor. And it basically turns it off so that the tumor then, or the beginnings of a tumor can start. So you can initiate a process of cellular proliferation of a mutated cell, mutated by the carcinogen. So that can turn things off and on and all that. And then you have a tumor grow. electromagnetic fields, that has been shown to, and cell phone radiation has been considered a possible carcinogen, according to the WHO in 2011. That has been proven again and again to be true. It is a carcinogen, but if it's up to the WHO, it's possible. Change that word to probable, the whole industry would go down. But it is, and it has been showing over and over again to be detrimental to the cell's genetics, and will alter and initiate and start up cancer. There was a classic case that was studied, a young woman, 27-year-old Asian woman who had been putting a cell phone in her brassiere every day for a few years, developed 5 tumors in that breast that followed the line of the antenna of the phone. 5 tumors. The surgeon said, "I've never seen anything like this." And that was going back probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And
Wow.
he said, talk about causation. This was direct causation. And he stated that. I watched this man talk, and it was really, it was stunning. It was alarming. And so hence, this woman had a mastectomy, went on to have the breast removed, and she had no risk factors outside of a cell phone. Okay. So this is a very disturbing piece of information. Cell phone radiation is a very dangerous thing. It's increased thyroid cancers. It's increased brain tumors. You cannot believe all the information there is on cell phone. But again, it's the industry that's not really backing this. The industry is not funding this. It is independent studies and donations made by philanthropists who would do that. So we've got all these things. I'm just talking a few things. I mean, we've got chemicals that are endless in the environment that have been booming, all of the industry booming with chemicals, from pesticides to personal care products to, everything you can think of that's out there, and, making things in industries. So there's all kinds of chemicals. There's air pollution. There's stuff coming off of your car tires that's contributing tremendously to lung inhalation and even lung diseases and cancers. Everything that we're exposed to now is a potential carcinogen.
Wow. Wow. This is mind blowing. I'm going to come back to you, take a rest for a little while, because I'm going to come back to you and talk about the gut and how, the gut can cause or prohibit, imbalances, cancers. But for now, Dr. B, your turn, please. I think we didn't quite get the numbers right, but we know we can tell that there has been, in the last century alone in human existence, there's been a dramatic multi-X rise in the rates of imbalances in cancer. We can see that. If the numbers aren't quite right, viewers, please forgive us. That's not the point, though. The bigger point is it's been a massive rise. Dr. B, has there been an equal rise in the availability of effective treatments?
Well, absolutely not. When I started medical school, which was about 49 years ago, many of these cancers were considered a death sentence. Now, there have been a lot of advances made since then, a lot of advances in gene therapies and immunotherapy and all other forms. There's also, and I'm sure Dr. Maria is going to talk about it in a few minutes, a lot of the newer alternative methods of treatment. Also, we've been looking at a number of things to try to treat it just in basic principle: good health, good nutrition, good physical conditioning. Obesity leads to greater incidences of cancer, for instance, and the rise of obesity in the world is astronomical also. So when I started medical school, the basic treatment for all the cancers was basically, let's inject poison in your system, which will kill the cancer, which also may kill you. And it's still, there's a lot of cancer treatments that are of that ilk. Um, but on the positive side, many of the cancers that were diagnosed so many years ago, which is 49 years, were immediate death sentences within a very short period of time. Now, a lot of them are more treated as chronic disease. We can take this step, that step, in order to try to treat them to prolong meaningful life. Um, and there's a lot of new material to try to early prevention. We do a lot of other good screening tests now that were not even a thing back then. We've found that a lot of these are very effective in getting into early, and then an early intervention is actually a lot of these cancers can be cured the earlier you find it. Many of these cancers were undetected by our technology. We only had first and second generation CT scans back then. We did not even have the MRI. We did not have PET scans. As a matter of fact, the first PET scanner was built when I went to medical school under the Houston, Texas Center, the Houston Medical Center in Houston, Texas. And it stretched, they had a tunnel that stretched from my medical school all the way across campus to MD Anderson Hospital, where they had to do a particle accelerator. And that's the extent of the technology back then. And now PET scanners are everywhere. So the advance of technology has helped us in early detection and early treatment. So a lot of those things have helped bring it down. Also, that one of the cancers that has risen exponentially is skin cancer. And we talked about that a little bit in another podcast. But skin cancers has risen astronomically over this period of time. And so, and a lot of these are now curable. So in this time frame, the world has changed. At the same time, we're introducing more cancers through our environment. We have all kinds of plastics. When we drink out of a plastic water bottle, we're increasing our risk of cancer. Charcoal grilling increases the risk of cancer. All the things we enjoy. Putting gasoline in your car from the benzene in the gasoline increases our risk for cancer. All the things that we take for granted in our industrialized nation also introduces increased risk to us. And as Dr. Maria was talking about, it turns off the gene suppression elements. And for a lot of us, it's not a question of if we're going to get cancer, it's a question of when we're going to get cancer. Now, back at the turn of the century, I would say maybe we didn't diagnose as many cancers because people weren't living long enough to get to cancer. They were dying of other things. And
That was
particularly, infection was probably the number one cause of death at that time. And once Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin and the world of antibiotics came, that dropped precipitously. But at the same time, that dropped precipitously, cancer rose precipitously. So because at that point, people began to live longer, there was more hazards in the environment. I mean, when I was a kid, we wouldn't have thought about electromagnetic waves at any level coming after us. And nowadays, it's a real threat. I mean, if you talk on your telephone when it's less than 20% charged, you really doubly increase your risk of getting cancer from that cell phone. And that's a scary thought. Yeah, you should always keep your phone charged, because if it's under 20%, there are extra warnings out there that it does actually increase your risks. So just all in all, it's not a death sentence. It is treatable, multiple treatments. And Dr. Maria is going to talk about some of the things that she's very much interested in this. We don't use just poison anymore, although many of the cancer treatments still are very, very harsh. And so some people choose to forego the cancer treatments because of the harshness of the treatments. But some things have improved, but we're nowhere near cures. And as we're nowhere near cures, we're adding more types of cancers to it because of the changes in our environment.
Okay. Dr. B, thank you for that really fantastic, succinct appraisal of the history and development. Really appreciate your words of wisdom. Really, thank you so much. Dr. M, two questions for you again, because this is your topic, really. I know you don't want it to be your topic, but you have some expertise here. So, first question about the gut, and then talk about Dr. B started this conversation about cures, but talk about some of the innovative, less poisonous cures that are coming on stream, including just keeping your gut healthy. So if you can answer those two questions, I think that's where we want to leave this topic. And I think we got to come back to this topic when Nurse Linda and Dr. P, wherever he may be, are back. We need to do a second visit on this topic. But those two questions, the gut and cures which are less poisonous.
Yeah, so I'd love to say that we have a cure for everything, and that word cure is kind of, it's pretty pretty definitive. It's like cure means, wow, you're wiping something out. It'd be nice to do that. The fact is, thanks, Dalton, you did a great job. The fact is that we all carry the potential to have this develop, this imbalance. And there are people who have been, they've died and they've done postmortems on them. They've done autopsies on them, found little things all around, and that, growths, tumors, but that was not the cause of death. But they lived long and they had little things growing in their body, and they never amounted to much because the body has what we call an immune system. And the immune system is what keeps us alive, really. I mean, however we started, whatever started the whole ball rolling, the ticking of the heart and everything else in the brain, we're still, like we chalk this up to the divine. But if it weren't for the immune system, we would not be here talking. And your immune system is your defenses. It's the Army, the Navy, the Marines. It's everything to you. And, you're breathing in, your body's already detoxifying. You're eating something, it's already trying to figure it out and trying to detoxify what might not be agreeing with it. So, you eat a hamburger, you eat bacon, you eat, some kind of processed food, ultra processed food. The body's trying to figure it out. It's not used to this, but it works it out as best it can. So most of that, like I just said, has to do with your gut. So your gut is where your immune system really is housed. The immune system is mainly in your gut. And that keeps things in check. And what is keeping it in check? The little guys, the microbiome, the microbiota, different terms are used. The holobiont, our microbiome is a collective mass of all kinds of organisms. Everything from bacteria to archaea, protists, protozoa, fungi, worms. They're all there. And our body is trying to, deal with the environment. So it's taking in the environment. We breathe it in, we eat our environment, we are the environment, but each one of us has a different face and belly and eyes and whatnot. But the gut has the majority of our little friends called the microbiome, and they are really hosting us, and they are protecting us. And so they keep our immune system intact. And I tell you, if you feed your body the right stuff, you feed it in every sense of the word. You absorb the sun, you take in clean water, clean air, clean food, and stop taking junk in, your gut is going to be very happy and is going to protect you against these demonic forces that lead to cancer. So the microbiome has, like I said, a tremendous capacity to figure out what's right, what's wrong. And if you take bad things in, you disrupt that whole system. I'm just making this very simple for the audience because there are a lot of people who would not understand a lot of the terminology because it's very complicated. But you take in materials, you ingest it, your body figures it out. As long as it's good, it's good. Everything rolls along. Everything that goes in comes out nice and smooth the other end. But if you put things in that don't belong, chemicals of all sorts, right? Ultra processed foods full of chemicals, drinks that have all kinds of things in them. Your drink should have 3 components, not 50. Alcoholic beverage. You put that stuff in, it's going to hurt you. You're going to your liver's going to have a hell of a time trying to detox alcohol, which I've mentioned before, but a lot of people don't like when I say you shouldn't drink alcohol. But I didn't write the rules. The liver has to deal with it. The brain has to deal with it. So we have here, an immune system that's mainly housed in the gut. Because most of what we do is eat. We eat a lot of stuff and we swallow a lot of stuff, whether we're eating or not consciously, you're putting your hands in your mouth, you're swallowing whatever, you're touching yourself, you're taking things in. That's why you can, touch something and you bring it into the mouth, you don't even realize it. And then you get sick because your immune system might not be so good. And then you'll start getting sick. You might have an upset stomach, you might develop a little virus, little cold symptoms, because you touched something, brought that something in, the body was not equipped or not in good defense mode, and so you got sick. So you want to strengthen your immune system so that you can never have to worry about getting sick. That's going to take a lot of thought, a lot of conscious eating, moving, drinking. You have to know how to live your life and build that immune system. That includes eating the right foods, drinking the right stuff, getting sunlight, getting proper rest, taking supplements that make sense. Eating supplements is another process that you need to know what you're doing. That's why guidance is important. So that's what I do. So it's important to know that. So the immune system is the number one thing. As Dalton said, when we went to medical school and training and all that back in BC, you were never taught about nutrition. And nutrition is the key. And I use diet in my practice. I talk about diet. I talk about how people need to filter out that which doesn't belong in the diet. And the diet is probably the key element here. And some of the best foods, I mean, we could talk about it more if you want to go into that further. Some of the best foods to use will strengthen you so that you can prevent the cancer cells from really proliferating. So
Dr. M, fantastic. That's fantastic. I propose this. This is such an important topic because this imbalance, cancer, is debilitating to any of us that get it. We don't even contemplate it, do we? We can hardly bring ourselves to use the word, many of us. So I propose that this is such an important topic that we have a second episode on this in the next few weeks. Our producer is online. He'll refigure the schedule so that in 2-3 weeks we have the second episode to this. And I would like both of you to come back, but I'd also like Dr. P and Nurse Linda here, so that we have a full investigation of what we can do about this. And I'd like the topic. We'll recap what we discussed today quickly. And then I think what we should do, with your blessing, is that we should go on to the lifestyle and the food regime that would be the ideal for ensuring that we don't have this imbalance and cancer. Obviously, we can't erode it completely, but I think this is such an important topic, and that we know that it's possible, particularly if you're young, to make sure that you really minimize the risk of this by doing the right thing. That we cover it again as a second topic in a few weeks. How does that sound? And well, first of all, I think it'll sound good to both of you. I saw you both nodding, but also, are we okay to invite Dr. P and Nurse Linda back, and we talk about it all together? Should we have those guys, Nurse Linda and Dr. P?
If we find Dr. P anywhere.
If we find Dr. P, I've got my people looking for him, Dr. B. I'm very hopeful. I'm cautiously optimistic that we'll find him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think we should do this.
We should do this. Okay.
The immune system, again, immunotherapies and other natural treatments we haven't really touched, but there's a lot of information on this whole topic. And
okay, so the right things to do, immunotherapies, is this topic. We cover this topic with what we do about it in the next episode in a few weeks. Our producer, I'm just sort of shouting it out there now to him. Colin, can you just make sure you rejig the schedule, that as soon as we find Dr. P and Nurse Linda is available, that I have 4 people on this show to talk about the way forward. I'm sure he's nodding in the background. I'm just getting a notification in my ear. We think we know where Dr. P is, and we'll get him back here within 2 weeks, I think.
Yay!
But
sounds good.
Thank you both this week. Dr. M, it's goodbye from you. And Dr. B, goodbye from you.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me from Happy Health Hour at Vadera University. Thank you both so much, and we will see you next week.
See you then.
See you then.
Thank you.